Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the AD carry tier list for patch 7.11. So this patch, Lucian and Caitlyn got nerfed, Bork also got nerfed in this patch, and those were really the only changes to AD carry champions. So with that being said guys, let's get started. So in the tier 1 for this patch, starting it off here is going to be Twitch. So Twitch is still one of the best, if not the best AD carries for 7.11. Blade did get a little nerf this patch, but honestly, Twitch was always still really strong even when Blade wasn't in the meta. If Blade ends up not being too great on him this patch, it's not really going to affect him because he can go back to building like a Runin's Infinity Edge, go for like a really crit heavy build, and he can drop the Blade of the Ruined King in his build and still be a very strong AD carry pick. So a few reasons to why Twitch is really good right now and why he's tier 1 is number 1, we're seeing a lot of supports being played right now that are very heal and shield oriented. They're really good peel supports that are being played in the meta right now, and if you pair Twitch up with a good support that can keep him safe in a mid to late game team fight, then if you can play a decent Twitch, you can absolutely solo carry games with him. If you get to your 3 or 4 item build on him, or if you just get full build on Twitch, there's no other AD carry in the game that can match you. His late game is the best for any AD carry right now. His win rate, if the game goes past like 40 minutes, is the best for any ADC champion. And his early game actually isn't all that bad either. He does have a decent laning phase. He can get bullied out by Draven, but that's really the only AD carry that he does struggle with in the laning phase. If you are looking for just a very solid AD carry though for this patch, then I would recommend picking up Twitch. So for Twitch right now, when you should look to pick him, you should pretty much pick him in most scenarios. The only champion that he does struggle a bit against is Draven. So if you're not confident against Draven, then I wouldn't pick him in that situation. But overall, he's a very, very strong AD carry in this patch, and you should be looking to pick him up. So next up in the tier 1 here is going to be Draven, and I think this is actually the first time I've ever had Draven in the tier 1 on one of my tier lists. He's just a very good pick right now. His itemization is really strong with the Death's Dance changes. The Infinity Edge also got a cost decrease as well, and pretty much all of the items that Draven buys, they did get some sort of change which makes them cheaper or that makes them stronger. He's one of the only AD carries that can actually go really aggressive in the laning phase and make plays for themselves. If you're playing an AD carry like Jinx, for example, you can't really just like make plays in the laning phase by yourself. You kind of do have to rely on your support champion to hit a CC ability or just hit a spell, and then you go in to follow up. With Draven, your damage is insane in the early game, so you can always contest the enemy for CS. If you see them going in for a CS, you can get a free axe off on them, and you can just win trades very easily because there's really no other AD carry that can out trade Draven in the early game unless he is playing up against a shielding support. And then usually when a champion does have a very strong early game, their late game isn't the best, but that's not the case at all with Draven. Your one-shot potential on squishy targets late game with your axes is absolutely insane. If you do get ahead in the early game and you get a really good snowball going, then the ability to take over a game with this champion, I think is the best right now for any AD carry pick. And also with Caitlyn getting nerfed in this patch, we're probably going to be seeing a little bit less of her, and she is going to be a little bit weaker now. Caitlyn was one of the picks that did pretty well against Draven, so with that pick getting weaker in this patch and Draven not getting touched at all, it makes him an even stronger pick for patch 7.11. So for when you should pick Draven, matchup wise and win percent wise, he's not losing against any AD carry in this patch right now. He's got a winning record against every single AD carry pick, so if you can play a good Draven, it doesn't really matter too much when you pick the champion. He's a great pick overall in most scenarios in 7.11. And then the last champion in the tier 1 for this patch for AD carry is going to be Ziya. So Ziya didn't get affected really at all by any of the item nerfs in this patch. Even though some players did build Bork on her, she's kind of like Twitch where you don't need to build that item on the champion to be successful. Lucian, that item is just really, really strong on him. So with it getting nerfed, it affects a champion like Lucian more than it does affect a champion like Ziya or Twitch. I think that Ziya is just a very strong solo queue AD carry. Her ultimate provides really good self-peel for herself, and I just find it really hard to just lock down a Ziya in a team fight and actually get onto her and deal damage to her due to her ultimate. Her damage output as well with her feathers is insane. Whenever she does use her E, if she does have a few feathers out, she can basically one-shot any squishy target. I usually underestimate the damage that Ziya can actually do when she does use her E, and you can just solo carry team fights if you get like a good ultimate off and you hit a multi-man E on the opponents. And then for Ziya, when you should look to pick her, she does struggle a bit against Draven, Misfortune, Twitch. Those are 3 other very strong AD carries though in this patch right now, so it's not too much of a surprise that she's doing a little bit weaker against them. Most of the other picks though, she's either going even with or she is beating, so I think that if you can play a pretty good Ziya right now, she's a very strong pick for solo queue. And in the tier 2 for this patch, we've got Lucian, Misfortune, Caitlyn, Kog'Maw, Varus, Ashe, Kalista, and Jinx. So I want to take a look at Lucian and Caitlyn here. So Lucian, he's still a pretty good pick in this patch. He got a nerf to Blade in this patch, which is going to affect him quite a bit. And then there's also a nerf to his Q to where they increase the mana on it. So I think they're trying to get Lucian players to go back to an Essence Reaver build in this patch. I'm not too sure if that's going to be the best build for him, but I think that he's definitely going to get a bit weaker in 7.11 here. And I don't think he's a tier 1 pick anymore, especially with like Draven, Twitch, and Ziya just being very strong picks. And then for Caitlyn, she is definitely quite a bit weaker in this patch compared to last patch. The nerf that she got this patch was to her headshot passive, to where she can no longer stack it with the Runaan's bolts. This is going to decrease Caitlyn's DPS in team fights by quite a bit, and it is going to make her just damage output a lot weaker. I don't think she's a very strong pick, or she's not a tier 1 pick anymore in this patch. She's still a pretty good pick though for solo queue, but I don't think she's as OP anymore as she was in 7.10. And then tier 3 for this patch is Ezreal, Jhin, Vayne, Sivir, and Tristana. So these picks are all average. Like, you can play them, you can have success on them, but they're really not worth picking over a tier 2 or a tier 1 champion unless you can play them really well. If you're new to Ezreal, your ability to perform well on him as opposed to someone like Twitch in this patch right now is going to be quite a bit weaker. You need to play a lot of games on Ezreal to actually have consistent success on him in 7.11, so I would try to stay away from these tier 3 champions unless you are a main of them or you've played them for a lot of games. So that is going to be it for this AD carry tier list. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.